أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وبالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صلوات بجماعة. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the 7th Majlis in the series of Majalis that began under the discussion of Khutbah Muttaqeen, khutbah number, sermon number 193 from Nahj-ul-Balagha. And I appreciate that you bearing and sticking with the discussions, albeit sometime this discussion may be very dry and it could be not difficult, easy to understand, but the kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, which requires thorough investigation and requires analyzing, and alhamdulillah to an extent, hopefully at the end of the series of majalis, we'll be able to at least say regarding one khutbah of Nahj-ul-Balagha that we have gone through the tafsir of it, and whenever this khutbah is mentioned or the words and the verses of this khutbah is mentioned, it'll ring a bell in your ears, inshallah, and you'll remember something that you heard during these majalis regarding this khutbah. And without going into other muqaddamat, I'll get right into the discussion for tonight, as the discussions will change slightly moving forward tomorrow night and the night after. And I will still be utilizing the khutbah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, but obviously we will be going more in reference to a lot of other issues which are pertaining to us, relevant, and obviously relevant to the nights that are approaching as well. So the shift may be a little bit towards that, but inshallah after Ashur we'll come back to the discussion, the 2 nights that we have, or 1 night, however many there may be. Last night, if you remember, the discussion was regarding the recitation of Quran. That Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, while counting the attributes of Muttaqeen, the attribute number 18, he considers and calls it to be that one of the attributes of Muttaqeen is that they recite the Holy Quran in the tone which is advised and which is deserving to be recited. So he, again, taking the essence from the ayat of Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rattil al-Qur'ana tartila, that recite a Quran in a measured tone. Amir al-Mu'mineen, using the ayat of Quran, refers towards the Muttaqeen, ta'lina li-ajza' al-Quran, wa yurattilunaha tartila. That Muttaqeen are those who take the portions of Quran and they take admonition from this Quran and they recite it in a well-measured tone. So when you look at how Imam is placing such an emphasis, and the next sifat that Imam mentions, which is also in relation to this holy book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that It is a book which is a miracle itself. Every ayat of this book is a miracle. You pick up an ayat of Quran and you find so many solutions to your problems. You look at the ayat of Quran, it serves as healing for you. It serves as a spiritual upbringing for you. It serves as a cure for your bodily illnesses as well as your spiritual illnesses. And these are all covered under the ayat of Quran. And this miracle is, something which is right there and in front of our eyes. For example, if something is bothering you from the aspect of magic or superstition of any sort, then there's ayat of Quran that is recommended to be recited, that you go ahead and use this ayat towards the end of Surah Qalam, chapter number 68, one of the last ayat of Surah Qalam, which talks about the same concept. In regards to this, you use this ayat, you hang it with, for example, with you, you keep it with you, you hang it in your house, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the barakat of this ayat, will keep, any type of magic or superstitions away from your house. For example, it says, وَإِن يَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. This ayat is widely used, and you may have even seen it when you walk into someone's house, that there is a takhti upon which this ayat is written. So this ayat is something which could provide, safeguarding from, for example, this sort of illness of magic or superstition, that if someone is, sometimes they are engulfed and sometimes they get overpossessed by these sort of things. Again, the ayat that you and I usually recite when someone, for example, is asking to make dua on their behalf, if they're sick or if they're going through some sort of difficulty in their life, you recite this ayat of Surah Naml, verse number 62 together, and you recited it 5 times as well. Although it does not mention anywhere in the riwayat that this is the ayat that must be recited when someone, for example, is sick, or for example, when someone is struggling or going through a difficult time, that you go ahead and recite this ayah. But the mazmoon of the ayah tells us that amman yujib muztarra idha da'a wa yakshifu su, that who is the one who responds to the istirar and the difficulty of the person when he calls upon. So therefore, the madmoon of the ayah tells us that it is reflecting towards when a person is in, some sort of difficulty, going through problems, you go ahead and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But where it doesn't say that if you were to recite, for example, another ayat of Quran, it will not have the same impact. That you must recite this ayat of Surah Naml, verse number 62, if you want, for example, well-being or, cure from something that you are suffering. No. Even if you were to recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you will find the same cure from it. It depends. Sallallahu Muhammad wa alayhi Muhammad. And therefore, while these ayat are associated, for example, if someone is sick and they are, in high fever, you go ahead and recite the ayat which says, Ya naru kuni bardan wa salama ala Ibrahim. O fire, be cool and sound to Ibrahim. And therefore, recitation of this ayah will diminish or bring down the high fever that a person may be suffering from. So when we see that all of these ayat are referred toward a certain particular thing that you recite, and inshallah you will find a cure for it, it doesn't mean that you don't recite any other ayat of Quran for the same particular reason. You could recite, for example, Surah Fatiha, and for the cure of someone. But in our culture, usually Surah Fatiha is recited when we are reciting it for someone who has passed away. If you say for the well-being of so-and-so, please recite Surah Fatiha, it will be something, awkward for us. But if you go in other cultures like Arab cultures, usually they say, well, recite Surah Fatiha for the well-being of this individual who, for example, is admitted into the hospital. So therefore, we see that a lot of these things, because the closeness of the meaning, we go ahead and utilize it for that particular reason. But we see that the ability and the i'tiqad and the belief is also very important. That if you don't have the belief in it, then it is possible that it may not have any impact upon you. With firm belief, you go ahead and have this solution that you find in these ayat of Quran. So the story of, the brother of Sayyid Radi. Sayyid Radi is the one who compiled Nahj-ul-Balagha. He has a brother whose name is Sharif, right? Sayyid Sharif Murtada. He was also an alim of his time. In fact, both of these were given sort of like a prophecy, and they were students, and they were brought up. And Sheikh Mufid, and he's seen in a dream as if, Janab Sayyida is telling him to go ahead and teach someone, and then the next morning he sees the two sons were brought to him. So he sees that these two sons were brought. And when these two sons were brought, he sort of understood the prophecy. And then just imagine the status that these two kids, then they became. One became Sayyid Radi, and the second one became Sayyid Murtada. Sayyid Murtada used to teach. And when he used to give lecture, there was a student in his class who would always sometime run late, or he sometime would miss out on the class. So he one day asked him that, what is the issue with you? You come to my class, sometime you come, sometime you don't, sometime you're late. What is it? He said, well, I live across the lake, and if I catch the ferry on time, then I'm here on time. But if I miss the ferry, then I have to walk all the way around. That's why I'm late sometimes. And then when I don't have the ability, then I just don't come. So therefore, Sayyid Murtada went ahead and said, okay, next time when you miss the ferry, for example, not on purpose, miss the ferry, for example, try and catch it on time. I'll give you a nuskha, you keep it with you, and you start walking on the water and on the lake. He took the nuskha, he came back home. Next day he was able to take the ferry. The following day he was able to, but then one day came where he missed it. Obviously, he was also scared, afraid of what his teacher had told him. So he took out this nuskha in his hand, did not read what was inside of it, and then he made the niyat and he started walking on the water. And he was able to walk across the water. Because he had firm belief in what was written in it, therefore he was able to do it. But then when he reached across, he said, let me see what's written in it. When he opened it up, all that was written in it was Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And when he saw that, he said, that's it. So he lost the value of that which was written in it. Before crossing the river, he had value in his mind of what was written in it. Must be something that was able to carry me over the water. But afterward, he lost the value by just seeing, that's it, just Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And that is the case with us sometimes. So he tried to walk over the water again, but he failed and he started drowning, so he came back out. Because Sayyid Murtada had told him that make sure that you keep it closed, therefore you will have the value of what's written in it. That's the case with all of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you take any kalam for any particular reason, and definitely you will find cure in it. Because it is kalam hakim and it is full of miracles. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And this ijaz of Quran, you've had many discussions regarding this, so I won't go in the ijaz and this Quran being mu'jiza. I'll just quote a few ayat and some references of ahadith to back up this point. That this is the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, miracle that was given to the Holy Prophet. And how it is a miracle? One proof from within this Quran. That you find in this Quran 3 verses that are called ayat-e tahaddi, which are verses, challenging verses. These verses are the verses which are challenging mankind to go ahead and do and bring something like this Quran. First was in Surah Baqarah. In kuntum fi raybin mimma nazzalna ala abdina fa'tu bi suratin min mithlihi wad'u shuhadaakum in kuntum sadiqin. That if you have any sort of doubt that this is what we have revealed on our servant, on our abd, then go ahead and bring forth a book like this, a chapter like this, if you are Sadiq, if you are righteous in your claim, and use all the help you want to. When you and I challenge someone to do something, we say, well, don't ask for someone's help. Don't get anyone's help. Allah says, go ahead and get all the help in the world that you need. Because He knows this challenge will not be fulfilled. Then Allah lowered the challenge. Because they weren't able to bring a Quran, a book like this, He lowered the challenge. In chapter 11, Surah Hud, He challenges them, فَأْتُوا بِأَشْرِ سُؤَرٍ مِثْلِهِ. Bring 10 chapters of the like of this Quran. Look at the amazing part that this ayat is in the 11th chapter. asking, bring 10 chapters which have passed already, like this book. So therefore that tells you also that there is zero tahrif in Quran. It is placed how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, and it is placed how the Holy Prophet wanted. It was placed by Amirul Mu'mineen. No one else had anything to do with it. And there's zero tahrif, not even from the harakat, from zair, zabar, pesh, fatha, dhamma, kasra, to any of the words being missing from it or being omitted from it. So that's far. Salawat Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So Allah lowered the challenge. In the 11th surah, bring forth 10 chapters like this. It's only common and natural to say it in the 11th to bring forth 10 chapters like this. They weren't able to, so he lowered the challenge even further. And he said in Surah Fatir, I believe, bring bihadithin mithlih, one ayat of the likes of this Quran, if you're capable of doing so. Obviously, they were not able to produce anything of the likes of this Quran. And therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then ended by saying, if all of the mankind and jinn were to get together to go ahead and produce a book like this, they will never be able to do so. Then we realize the worth, that how much ma'asumeen have relied on this book and how much they have told us to go ahead and utilize this book. And that's the reason this book is considered to be a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You look at Surah Hashr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَوْ أَنزَلْنَا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى جَبَلٍ لَرَأَيْتَهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّعًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ. That if we were to reveal this book on a mountain, you will see that how this mountain will be crushed into pieces. Mutasaddi means cut into pieces. Khashian, obviously, humble. Min khashyatillah, in front of the humility, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mutasaddi', which means to be cut into pieces. That this mountain which we see to be things which are fixed in this earth, which keeps the earth from violently shaking and keeps the earthquakes from happening, especially in the areas where there are mountains. The power of these mountains, yet we see if Quran was revealed onto it, it will not be able to take the burden of it. But then the same Quran is revealed on the heart of the Holy Prophet, yet you see that he is not humbled in the same way, and you see that he is not crushed by any means. Therefore you understand the power and the value of the Holy Prophet, and then the Ma'asumeen who are carrying the same message. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So there are many references in this area, and I won't go through all of those, but I'll just highlight as to the places that we must pay attention to. For example, the tilawat and the virtues of recitation of the Quran. The recitation is not just so that, we're learning how to read it. A lot of time what happens is that, we pay a great deal of attention when our children are growing up. And I know I'm going through this. My children are now at the age where they're reading Quran and they're trying to finish their Quran. And therefore, as young parents, we make this effort to go ahead and make sure that our children, either learn from some ustad, from some teacher, some qari. And these days, obviously, online is a very easy thing. On Skype, you can have anyone. They can teach the kids Quran. And therefore, they learn the Quran. They make an effort. So a child probably starts at the age of 7, for example, 6 or 7. They'll start reading the Qaida and they'll start reading the Quran. And by the time they're 9 or 10 or 11 years old, they're probably, they end up finishing it. And then parents make an effort to go ahead and do an Ameen, to go ahead and Khatm Quran for this child so that, they're appreciated, they get some gifts, for example. All that happens. But the moment that happens, the child thinks now that he's done the Quran, he's done with Quran, he's finished reading it, he's completed it, he's accomplished something. This is where firaq baini wa bainak. That now this is where I separate from you and I'm done with you because I have finished reading you. And by the time this child turns 15 or 16, they're struggling to read this Quran again. All the hard work that was put in when they were younger is now lost. Even you celebrated them finishing this Quran. Now all of that hard work is gone when they're 15 or 16 years old. And if then even they don't make any effort by the time they're in their 20s and their 30s, it's even worse that they can't even read a word of this book. Because when you're not in practice and you don't constantly read, then you tend to forget that. It's surprising And it's not a knock on anyone. It's surprising that how intelligent our people are, that they'll be able to solve the most complex problems of mathematics and physics. Yet when it comes to reading the ayat of Quran, they struggle. So it's not like they're not smart and they can't achieve such a thing. It's only putting time into it. Whatever it is that you put your time into, you will be able to accomplish. And therefore, we don't put enough time into recitation of it because we don't realize the value and the virtues of it. The hadith of the Holy Prophet says, يُدْفَعُ أَنْ تَالِيَ الْقُرْآنِ بَلْ وَالْآخِرَةِ Wrath of akhirat, the adhab of akhirat, and being tangled into it is removed from a person who recites this Holy Quran. Just imagine. This is the God, this is the Rabb of yours, whose rahmat exceeds his adhab, his ghadab. Every step of the way, he is giving you an opportunity to go ahead and enter the paradise, to be able to go ahead and witness this heaven that he has created for you, to be able to enjoy the favors and the bounties that he has created for you. And he's giving you such small little incentives, little things that you go ahead and do, and you'll be able to accomplish something such as big as that. So therefore we see, let's pay a visit to the pharmacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You and I pay a visit to the pharmacies of this world, right? From the very first day of Muharram, we've been visiting the pharmacy of Amirul Mu'mineen in Nahj-ul-Balagha. Let's pay a visit to the pharmacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is it that we can get out of it? Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He said, وَإِذَا قُرِيَ الْقُرْآنِ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنْصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. Whenever Quran is recited, silently listen to this book, so that you may what? Be mercy, so that Allah may show mercy upon you. Just by listening to it. Because a lot of times, some of us can't read it. So if you can't read, at least pay attention, listening to it when someone is reciting. That also has benefits. That also has virtues and values associated with it. But what we see sometimes is disrespect to this Quran, that while it is being recited, people are talking. There's chattering going on. It says, اغتنموا, make dua on 5 occasions. One of those occasions is what? In the adhan wal iqama, when adhan and iqamat is being said. In the qira'at al-Quran, when Quran is being recited. If you can't read and someone else is reciting, make sure that you raise your hands and you go ahead and make the dua at that time. Dua at that particular time when Quran is being recited is bound to be accepted. And when you recite it, the Holy Prophet says, make sure that you purify your mouth. Make sure that you clean your mouth. نَظِّفُوا طَرِيقَ الْقُرْآنِ. Keep the path of Quran clean. He said, what is the path of Quran of the Holy Prophet? He said, this mouth, afwahakum. Your mouth, make sure that you clean them before you start reciting. He said, why? How? Physically clean them? Meaning miswak or brushing it or, rinsing it? He said, that is one thing. But also keep it clean and pure from any foul language, lest that you use this for cursing someone and then you go ahead and recite praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the same time. Don't mix these two things. How would you like it that in the same sentence you have cursed someone and then you have recited the ayat of Holy Quran? Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And amazing things that happen just by the recitation of it. Again, I'm just reciting the ayat of Quran. That this Quran, the recitation of this Quran, kharru sujjadan wa bukiya. It makes one go ahead and prostrate in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it makes someone weep and cry by just listening to it and by reading. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Mu'min is someone, when Allah is mentioned, their hearts start to tremble. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And when the ayat of Quran are recited for that person, their iman increases. There's an increment of iman. This increment is only for those who are sahibi iman, those who are believers. A disbeliever will not have any effect. Their iman will not increase. That's why they were mocking. When this ayat was revealed and they said to Muslimin, is your iman increasing by reciting this Quran? And they were mocking. He said, how do you make sense of this? He said, you make sense of it. I gave you an example that this book is the pharmacy. You visit the pharmacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are medicines in the worldly pharmacy as well. It is possible that one medicine is beneficial for a person, for example, who's suffering from diabetes. But if you give the same medicine to, for example, someone else who doesn't have diabetes, that medicine will be harmful for that person. It will go ahead and lower their blood sugar, for example, which they don't need because their blood sugar is at the right level. So therefore, the pharmacy where you get this medicine from will serve someone good and may even harm others. And same thing happens when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. When these ayat are recited for mu'mineen and the believers, it increases their iman. But when you go ahead and recite it towards those who are kuffar and unbelievers, for their marad and the sickness in their heart only increases by it. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So muttaqeen, going back to the kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that muttaqeen are those yuhazzinuna bihi anfusahum wa yastathiruna bihi dawa adaihim. While reciting the portions of Quran, creating through it grief for themselves and seeking by it the cure for their ailments. So this is why the muttaqeen recite this Quran, because they're seeking, looking at it from the aspect of grief. They're suffering. One of the reasons for their suffering is because, the firaq of them and their mahbub. You recite in Dua Kumail, I don't know how many pay attention to the kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen when he says, كيف أصبر على فراقك أصبر على حر نارك. I will be able to show patience toward the hararat of the fire that you have created. كيف أصبر على فراقك. But I cannot bear and have patience over this firaq that I have with you. So Imam, in other words, is saying, I will bear the patience, have patience over the nar and the hell that you have created. Although Imam is not going there, but he's telling us because we are reading this dua. Imam is saying in this dua, كُلُّ ذَمٍّ أَذْنَبْتُ. Do you mean Imam committed any sins? No. He's ma'soom. It doesn't make any sense for him to say, كُلَّ ذَنْبٍ أَذْنَبْتُهُ. All the sins that I have committed. وَكُلَّ خَطِيَّةٍ أَخْطَأْتُهَا. All the mistakes that I have made. Imam, you're ma'soom. Where's the sin coming from? Where's the mistake coming from? No, it's not for him. He's teaching us. Make dua using the kalam of ma'asumeen because they know how to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know how to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have the proper adab of speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the reason you use these words which have been. People say a lot of time, Maulana, can we use the translation? It's good to understand it. But when you make use of the translation, you're using the words of ghayr ma'asum. Use the words of ma'asum, which is the actual dua to go ahead and ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the reasons of the grief is because of this firaq that these individuals have. They are in grief due to being away from their beloved. And by reciting his kalam, they feel some sort of connection with him. So when you recite this Quran as well, you feel this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and this real ishq. This is real ishq. This is real hub and real love. There's real ishq and there's false ishq. And whenever this word comes, I may go in the valleys of, falsafa and irfan, but I'll refrain from going there. The real ishq is only with the one who is ever living and everlasting, or someone who's associated and manifestation of that ever living and the everlasting. Therefore, having a real ishq with imam of your time is also permissible. In fact, it is something which is mamdur, that you should have a real ishq with the imam of your time. And that's why there's a difference between the two words that are used in Quran as muhabbat and mawaddat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not use the word muhabbat when it came to Ahlul Bayt. He did not say, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَحَبَّةَ لِلْقُرْبَى. He did not say muhabbat. He said mawaddat, because muhabbat is something which happens on its own. You see a mandar, a beautiful thing, or a person, you fall in love. But mawaddat happens when you make an intention of falling in love with someone. Muhabbat may disappear after a while. Two people are in love, but after a while they separate and there's hatred between them. But as murur-e-zaman, mawaddat only increases. Muhabbat dies after someone is dead, but mawaddat increases and continues even after a person is dead. Therefore we realize that the hubb and the muhabbat that is being mentioned with Ahlul Bayt is very important. The hadith of the Holy Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is enough of the proof for this. He said, Asasuddin hubbi wa hubbu Ahl Bayti. He said the foundation, asas, is the foundation of the deen is my love and love for my Ahlul Bayt. And when he said this, obviously there were questions that were raised. And when he addressed the issue of, for example, that Ali would be the successor, there were questions raised. One person who raised the question, he asked for the punishment which came upon him. And then there was a second person, but there was a difference between the adab of asking the question. When the first person asked this question at the event of Ghadir, he said, if that is the case, may Allah send a stone up from the heavens or the sky and falls upon me and I die. Because he was contradicting what Rasulullah had said. He asked Rasulullah, is this from you or from Allah? And then there was an Arabi, when Rasulullah returned to Medina, a Bedouin came to the Holy Prophet and he asked the same question. He said, Rasulullah, you announced the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen. Is it from you because he's your cousin, your son-in-law, related to you, you love him? Is it because of that? Or is it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded? Rasulullah responded by saying, this is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you not know the ayat of Quran which says, La ma yantiqu anil hawa in huwa illa wahyun yuha. The Prophet doesn't utter anything from his own. Whatever he says is from the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, this is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he wanted to make this point even further clear to him. So he said, Ma khalaqallahu khalqan wala anzalallahu kitaban. Allah did not create anything, nor did he reveal anything, illa ja'ala lahu sayyid. Unless and except he created what? Master or a leader for that thing. So he said, فَالْقُرْآنُ سَيَّدُ الْكُتُبِ. Quran is what? Is the sayyid and the leader of all the books. وَالرَّمَضَانِ سَيَّدُ الشُّهُورِ. Ramadan is the sayyid of all of the months. وَلَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ سَيَّدَةُ اللَّيَالِي. The Shab Qadr is the sayyada of all of the nights. وَالْفِرْدَوْسِ سَيَّدُ الْجَنَانِ. Firdaus is the leader and the sardar of all of the paradise. وَجِبْرَائِيل سَيَّدُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. He is the sardar of all of the malaika. وَأَنَا سَيَّدُ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. And I am the sayyid of all of the anbiya. وَعَلِي سَيَّدُ الْأَوْسِيَاءِ. And Ali is the sayyid of all of the wasi of the prophets that have passed. وَالْحَسَنِ وَالْحُسَيْنِ سَيِّدَا شَبَابِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. And then he continued. To this point, everybody understood what Prophet was saying. But then he said, وَلِكُلِّ إِمْرِئٍ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ. For the every action that you perform, for every action there's sayyid. And for all of the amal that you perform, sayyidul amal hubbi wa hubbu Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then you put this hadith, Asasul Deen. What is Asasul Deen? Hubbi wa hubbu Ahl Bayti. The foundation, but obviously you have to build something upon the foundation. You can't just have the foundation and be happy with it. Yes, the foundation is the muhabbat of Ahl Bayt. Without that, you cannot build the foundation. You need the foundation to be strong. And the only way that it could be strong is when it has the muhabbat of Ahlul Bayt. Otherwise, the building will be crooked. Therefore, make sure that the foundation is correct. So a person came to our fifth Imam and he asked him two questions regarding this. He said, one, that as to, is this wajib, the love of Ahlul Bayt? And number two, what is the benefit of love of Ahlul Bayt? Imam responded by saying, Halid deen illa al-hub? Is there deen besides muhabbat? Could there be anything in deen besides muhabbat? He said, no. He said, yes, this muhabbat is wajib, and Imam recited the ayat of Quran for him. So he said, yes, it is an obligation. It is not something which is recommended, that you go ahead and love someone. No. It is a wajib that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And number two, what is the benefit of it? Imam said that a person, that even if a stone dies on the muhabbat, it will be mahshur with us, let alone individuals and the people. If they die in the muhabbat of Ahlul Bayt, they will be mahshur with Ahlul Bayt as well. Would you not want to be in the same company of Ahlul Bayt, in the maqam that they enjoy in paradise? Then this is the benefit of loving them. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So this is the real ishq, and this is the muhabbat, and the difference between muhabbat and mawaddat. Last attribute for tonight, and inshallah we will bring towards conclusion, that yastathiruna bihi dawa'a da'ihim. They're seeking cure for their ailments. That they don't just recite Quran for the sake of the recitation of Quran, but rather the recitation of Quran is something which is the cure for their ailment. Quran was the reason for their grief. Now it becomes the reason for their joy. The same Quran was the reason for their grief because they felt the disconnect. Now by reciting the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's sort of like when you receive a letter nowadays. Obviously in this day and age we don't really write letters, we just send an email or text message. But back in the day when you would receive a letter from a loved one, how eager you would be when you're told that the letter has been sent and you're waiting for this letter and finally it arrives, and then now you want to read it. And sometimes you read it twice, 3 times over and over again because you can't get over because of the love that you have for that individual. Imagine such a letter is written to you by Imam of the time. How many times would you want to read that letter if you are lucky enough that Imam of your time communicates with you? And therefore, you would treasure that letter which is written. And similar is the case with these muttaqeen, that when they recite the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they feel this grief and then they feel the joy because when the recitation is going on, they feel that they're now being connected with their Rabb. So let's visit this pharmacy as to what this pharmacy can do for us. The divine pharmacy is in the hands of every individual. There's nobody in this crowd over here who can say that Quran is not in my access. Is it the case? When that is not the case, then you have full access to the pharmacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have full access to kulli dawa'i da'ihim. All of the cure of their ailments is right in front of them. It's open for all ailments. It's never closed. Some of the pharmacies which are not 24 hours, they'll close at midnight. But this is a pharmacy which is always open. Anyone can access it without any delay, without having to show a proper insurance card or not a lack of insurance card, for example. Anyone can access it. All types of medicines are found here. So it is possible that you go to a pharmacy and the medicine that you're looking for is not there. They'll have to order it from somewhere else. But when you refer to the pharmacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the medicines are found in this pharmacy. And no patient is turned down. No, we can't give it to you for whatever the reason may be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not turn you down if you were to go ahead and ask from this pharmacy. There's no cost for you. And there aren't any there aren't any illnesses or side effects from the pharmacy, the medicine that you take from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these things could be found in this pharmacy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, unless there's some sort of marad in the heart of an individual. But that marad had to do with the illness of disbelief and kufr. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَفِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. In that ayat he said, وَإِذَا طُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. When the ayat are recited, their iman increases. But in this ayat he said, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. In their hearts there's sickness and there's illness, and Allah only increases the sickness and the illness even when they are reciting this Quran. So this Quran provides shifa jismani for your body. This provides shifa for your ruhani tarbiyat, for your spirituality as well. This Quran has come as maw'idat min rabbikum. It has all of these things and all of these features that you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although Quran has shifa for everyone, and even for the kuffar, as long as they are seeking the reality. But it could also turn down a mu'min who was not seeking the reality. Therefore, I will conclude that this Quran is something for which the Holy Prophet has said, Aliyu ma'al Quran, wal Quranu ma'a Ali. That Ali is with Quran. Aliyun ma'al Quran wal Quranu ma'ahu la yufarriqani hatta yarida alayya al-hawd. That Ali is with Quran and Quran is with Ali, and they will not separate from one another until they reach back to me at the Hawd Kawthar. Similar hadith is in regards to al-haqqu ma'al Ali wa Ali ma'al haqq, and Haqq is with Ali and Ali is with Haqq. In fact, Haqq goes wherever Ali goes, follows Ali ibn Abi Talib. Not that Ali has to follow the Haqq, rather Haqq goes around following Ali ibn Abi Talib. So there's so much emphasis that has been laid as far as this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned. You realize that when we talk about the benefits that are associated with it, a lot of time people raise question that you Shias, you go to the extent saying that the angels used to come to the doorstep of Janab Sayyida. Oh, they used to. They used to come to the doorstep of Janab Sayyida. If you want, you can do something where angels will come to your doorsteps as well. There's a formula available. Yet you and I are unaware of this formula. The followers of Janab Sayyida. When you look at that Amirul Mu'mineen in this same book, when it tells us in regards to this, إِنَّ الْبَيْتَ الَّذِي يُقْرَأُ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ وَيُذْكَرُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ فِيهِ, the house in which Quran is recited and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is remembered. Look, Amirul Mu'mineen has the need to inform us that there may be houses in which Quran is not recited and Allah is not remembered. But in the house in which Quran is recited and Allah is often remembered, what are the effects of it? Takthuru barakatuh. Blessings in this house increase. Tahduruhul malaika. Malaika descend and come to this house. You worried about the house of Janab Sayyida where malaika used to come down? It was a regular thing. No, you can bring malaika to your doorstep as well. If all you have to do is recite Quran in your house and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَتَهْجُرُهُ الشَّيَاطِينَ. The Satans refrain from entering such a house. And on the contrary. But then Imam does not stop over there. He said, تُضِيءُ لِأَهْلِ السَّمَاءِ كَمَا تُضِيءُ الْكَوَاكِبْ لِأَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. This house shines for the inhabitants of the heavens the same way these stars shine on the sky for the inhabitants of this earth. At night time when you look up, at night time when you look up, you see all these stars shining. He says when the inhabitants of over there, they look down to the earth, there are houses which are shining. And these are the houses. And on the contrary, إِنَّ الْبَيْتَ الَّذِي لَا يُقْرَأُ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ وَلَا يُذْكَرُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ Fi house in which Quran is not recited, Allah is not remembered, تَقِلُّ barakatuh. Barakat start decreasing. تَهْدُرُهُ الشَّيَاطِينَ Shayateen gain access to such house. تَهْجُرُهُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ And malaika stay far and far away from these houses. You know, to bring you from this to transition to Karbala is very simple. It's very easy. The discussion of Quran is the discussion that Amir al-Mu'mineen is having on the night of Ashur. Imam gathers all of his companions. He sits them down and he tells them that tomorrow is the day when every one of us will be martyred. And then Imam names every single one. You will be martyred, you will be martyred. And he lists all of the individuals who will be martyred tomorrow. But Imam did not mention one name. And that was the name of his nephew, Hazrat Qasim. Right away, this 13-year-old, who was only 2 when his father, Imam Hassan, passed away. This 13-year-old, when he did not hear his name amongst the shuhada, instead of being happy and excited that I'm spared, I don't have to die, he felt the huzn and the grief in his heart. And he said to his uncle, Ya Imam, you mentioned everyone's name, but you did not mention my name. Am I not amongst those who will be martyred? And this is where Imam tests the 13-year-old. And this is where you understand the tarbiyat of this household. That Imam said, كَيْفَ وَجَدْتَ الْمَوْتِ How did you find death? And the response that he gives, أَحْلَى مِنَ الْعَسَلِ I find it sweeter than honey. You know, Janab Sayyida, when she was sitting on the deathbed of Rasulullah, and when this angel was accessing, trying to come, and she kept on turning him down, and Rasulullah told her that it is only your door that the angel of Maut has to gain permission to come in. Otherwise, he just goes wherever he wants to. She was obviously in grief and sorrow. But at that moment, she smiled for a second. And later on, people asked her, what was it that made you smile while you were sitting next to your father who was passing away? She said, I was in grief and in sorrow, and then my father told me, you'll be the first one to come and meet me. In other words, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave her the khushkhabari, or gave her the news that you will be the first one dying after me. Who smiles when they hear about their death? But this is the household. كَيْفَ وَجَدْتَ الْمَوْتِ O Qasim, أَحْلَى مِنَ الْعَسَلِ I found it to be sweeter than honey. And Imam said, don't worry. Not only you, but your younger brother Ali Asghar will be martyred. Ajrukum Allah. खुदा आपको किसी गम में ना रुलाए सिवाय गम आले मोहम्मद के. बस ये सुनना था एक दफ़ा कासिम को. जलाल आ गया और कहते हैं क्या ये लईन खैमगाह तक आ जाएंगे? इमाम ने कहा नहीं, तुम्हारे छोटे भाई को शिशमाहे को मैं लेके जाऊंगा और इस तरीके से उनकी शहादत होगी. अजरुकुम अल्लाह. बस इमाम ने उस वक्त हज़रत कासिम को इस तरीके से रोका कि अपने गुस्से के ऊपर इस तरीके से काज़िमुल गैज़ रहो और इस गुस्से को कल दिखाने का वक्त आएगा. 2 लोगों का तस्करा करना चाहता था मैं आज, चूँकि वक्त ना मिला. जनाब हज़रत अली अकबर के हवाले से भी आज मामूलन हज़रत अली अकबर की भी शहादत पढ़ी जाती है, हज़रत कासिम की भी तारीख़ है. बहरहाल तारीख़ें तो किसी के साथ भी हो सकती हैं. सबकी शहादत तो एक ही दिन वाक़ हुई थी कि एक तरफ वो शहज़ादा है कि जिसके लिए इमाम हुसैन ने बस ये एक जुमला काफ़ी है हज़रत अली अकबर की शहादत के लिए कि जब इमाम हुसैन आमादा हो गए, और कहा जाता है रिवायतों में कि जब किसी ने आके इमाम से इजाज़त तलब की है तो इमाम फ़ौरन जवाब नहीं देते थे, सिवाय अली अकबर के, कि जब अली अकबर ने आके इमाम से इजाज़त तलब की, इज़्ने जिहाद की, तो इमाम ने कहा तक़द्दम वलदी. एक लम्हे के लिए इमाम ने हेजिटेट नहीं किया. इमाम ने एक लम्हे के लिए सोचा नहीं कि मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ, کس چیز کی اجازت دے رہا ہوں؟ تقدم ولدی. لیکن جب بچہ بیٹا جانے لگا، جوان کریل جوان جانے لگا، تو ایک دفعہ امام یہ کہتے ہیں اللہم اشہد، اے اللہ تو گواہ رہنا، برز الیہم غلام، ان کے پاس ایک ایسا جوان جا رہا ہے اشبہ الناس منطقا و خلقا و خلقا من رسول کا، جو رسول اللہ کے ساتھ اپنی گفتار میں، اپنی رفتار میں، اپنے دکھنے میں ہر طریقے سے سب سے زیادہ مشابہت رکھتا ہے، وہ ان کی طرف جا رہا ہے. اور ایک دفعہ جب امام نے رخصت کر دیا تھا، ہزار مصیبتوں کے بعد سے، گریہ وزاری کے بعد سے، بیویوں سے اجازت لینے کے بعد سے، جب علی اکبر فائنلی جا رہے ہیں مقتل کی جانب، تو کیا دیکھتے ہیں کہ پیچھے سے کسی کے چلنے کی آواز آ رہی ہے. اجرکم اللہ، کسی غم میں نہ رلائے سوائے غم آل محمد کے. بس ایک دفعہ علی اکبر نے دیکھا کہ بوڑھا باپ پیچھے پیچھے چلا آ رہا ہے. علی اکبر کہتے ہیں بابا آپ سے تو ودا ہو گئی تھی، اب آپ کس لیے پیچھے آ رہے ہیں؟ کہا اے علی اکبر، اگر تم صاحب اولاد ہوتے تو یہ سوال کبھی نہ کرتے. بیٹا جاؤ، جہاد کی اجازت دی. ایک علی اکبر کو جتنی آسانی سے اجازت دی تھی، قاسم کو اتنی ہی مشکل سے اجازت ملی. بار بار قاسم آتے ہیں، امام حسن کی نشانی آتی ہے، بار بار آ کے اپنے امو سے اجازت طلب کرتے ہیں کہ اے مولا مجھ کو اجازت دیجئے تاکہ میں یہ جہاد کر سکوں. میری ماں نے مجھ کو بول دیا ہے، اجازت دے دی ہے. مگر امام حسین قاسم کو ہاتھ میں لیتے ہیں، اپنے آغوش میں لیتے ہیں، کہتے ہیں تم میرے بھائی کی نشانی ہو. ارے میرے بھائی نے مرتے وقت کہا تھا، شہادت کے وقت حسن نے کہا تھا کہ قاسم تمہارے حوالے، اس کو یتیمی کا احساس نہ ہو. حسین جب بھی کوئی چیز لاتے بہترین چیز قاسم کو دیتے تاکہ قاسم کو احساس یتیمی نہ ہو. اس طریقے سے قاسم کو پروان چڑھایا ہے. بس اب کس طریقے سے جس کو پروان چڑھایا ہے مرنے کی اجازت دے دیں. بس امام بار بار ٹال دیتے ہیں، قاسم سے کچھ نہ بنا. حضرت قاسم آتے ہیں، ایک گوشے میں بیٹھے ہوئے تھے، گریہ وزاری کہ مجھ کو اجازت نہیں مل رہی ہے. بس وہ خیال آیا، بابا نے جانے سے پہلے ایک تعویذ دیا تھا، بیٹا جب کوئی مصیبت پڑے اس تعویذ کو کھول لینا. تعویذ کو کھولا، اس کے مضمون کو پڑھا، پھر دوبارہ ہنستے ہوئے آئے مولا کی جانب، اجازت طلب کی، وہی جواب ملا، فوراً تعویذ پکڑا دیا. تعویذ کیا تھا؟ امام حسین نے پڑھا، کہا تم اپنا موت کا نامہ لائے ہو. ارے بیٹا کیسے اجازت دے دوں؟ لیکن اس کے بعد سے اب کوئی جواز نہیں روکنے کا. تم کو میں اجازت دیتا ہوں لیکن کیسے جاؤ گے؟ ارے تمہیں جانا پڑے گا. تو امام نے گریبان کو چاک کر دیا. امام نے جس طریقے سے امامہ رکھا دو طرف اس کو کھول دیا. ارے جاؤ جا کے دکھاؤ اپنے جوہر. ایک دفعہ قاسم نے مقتل کا رخ کیا، ان تنکرونی، اگر تم نہیں پہچانتے کہ میں کون ہوں تو میں قاسم ابن حسن ہوں. ارے میں رسول اللہ کا نواسا ہوں، رسول اللہ کا پوتا ہوں. ایک دفعہ قاسم آتے ہیں، جہاد کرتے ہیں، 13 سال کا سن ہے. لوگ مدہوش ہیں کہ یہ کیسا جوان ہے، ابھی بچہ ہے، بالغ بھی نہ ہوا اور کس طرح کا جہاد کر رہا ہے. امام حسن کی شجاعت امڑ کے سامنے آ گئی. قاسم نے وہ جہاد کیا، کئی ناریوں کو واصل جہنم کیا. لیکن ایک وہ وقت آیا کہ قاسم کے اوپر اس طریقے سے چھپ کے حملہ کیا کہ قاسم کو نظر نہ آیا. یا قاسم مشغول ہوئے کسی چیز میں، دشمن نے چاروں جانب سے گھیرا، ارے ہر چیز برسائی. بیٹا ارے قاسم نے ایک آواز لگائی، یا اماں ادرکنی، اے میرے چچا میری مدد کو پہنچیے. بس امام حسین نے یہ سننا تھا. ایک شیر کی مانند مقتل کا رخ کیا، پہنچتے فرشتے ہیں جوان کی لاش پہ. اٹھایا, دیکھا قاسم اب اس دنیا میں نہ رہے. کہا کتنا غریب ہے تیرا چچا کہ تو چچا سے کچھ مانگے اور وہ تیری بات پوری نہ کر سکے. اجرکم اللہ, خدا کسی غم میں نہ رلائے. امام حسین نے جب آئے تھے دشمن کو ہٹایا تھا, ایسا گھمسان ہوا. جب ریت بیٹھی تو کیا دیکھا, گھوڑے دوڑ چکے تھے, قاسم کے لاشے کو پامال کر چکے تھے. ایک روایت کے مطابق حضرت قاسم کے ٹکڑے اتنے ہو گئے تھے کہ امام نے اپنی عبا میں ایک گٹھڑی بنائی, قاسم کے تمام ٹکڑوں کو رکھا اور گٹھڑی کو لے کے گئے خیمہ گاہ تک. دوسری روایت کہتی ہے ارے قاسم کا بدن اتنا پھیل گیا تھا, 13 سال کا بچہ جب مولا نے اٹھایا ہوگا لیکن اس کے پاؤں زمین پہ گھس رہے تھے. ماتم حسین.